Welcome to Underworld UK, where Britain's darkest stories are brought to light. From the gritty streets of gangland London, Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, from Curtis Warren to the Cray twins to county lines and modern-day true crime, we cover everything. Bringing you new videos every week. Subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next video is put out.
A boxing trainer who filmed with football stars Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and is an £18 million drugs kingpin. Michael McNally, 42, threw punches at Neville in a gym session as Carragher cheered. But I can reveal he was jailed for 17 years this month after peddling 50 kilograms of heroin and 200 kilograms of cocaine, worth £18.5 million. He supplied the drugs in 2020, then was filmed with a former footballer at Liverpool's Rotunda ABC the following year. In an episode of The Overlap, viewed 3.6 million times on YouTube, Carragher gives fellow Sky TV pundit Neville a tour of the Bootle area of Merseyside where he grew up. McNally, who trained world champ Tony Bellew as an amateur, then gives ex-Man United defender Neville a going-over. A source told The Sun, Carragher has been training there for a long time. It's embarrassing for Neville and Carragher to have him in their programme. McNally believed his use of the encrypted EncroChat mobile phone network, favoured by criminals, made him untouchable. But it was infiltrated by international law enforcement in 2020 with millions of messages passed to UK police, including some from Lanky Panda. These were traced to McNally when he shared photos of police responding to a car crash outside his house in Bootle. He also revealed that he was delivering drugs using a white Kangoo van that was on a 66 plate. It was later seen in his garden. When cops swooped in May, they found a semi-automatic pistol in the loft with ammo plus £23,000. McNally pleaded guilty in June to charges including conspiracy to supply Class A drugs, conspiracy to transfer criminal property, and possession of a prohibited firearm. He was jailed at Liverpool Crown Court on November 7th. John Hughes of the National Crime Agency said, "This operation has successfully taken a drug supplier out of the community, a dangerous weapon off the streets, and cash out of the hands of criminals." Neville and Carragher were asked for comment. A drug dealer who used an encrypted phone to try and conceal his criminal activity was caught after he shared photos of police responding to a car crash outside his home. Michael McNally, 42, from Bootle, was jailed for 17 years at Liverpool Crown Court after a joint investigation by Merseyside Police and the National Crime Agency, NCA, found he had supplied cocaine and heroin worth £18.5 million between March and June 2020. McNally, who used the encrypted messaging platform EncroChat, believed his communications were hidden from law enforcement. But officers were able to read his messages after international law enforcement agencies infiltrated the network in 2020. Among the millions of messages obtained was a stream of conversations from a user operating under the handle Lanky Panda. Investigators from the Merseyside Organised crime partnership, made up of NCA and Merseyside police officers, linked the account to McNally after analysing his messages and photographs. In one chat, Lanky Panda shared images of police officers attending a car crash near his home, describing their presence as the Heavy Ken Dodd, rhyming slang for plod. Investigators noticed the photos showed a white Renault Kangoo van parked in a garden, which matched the details from other messages in which Lanky Panda said he was using a white Kangoo van on a 66 plate to deliver drugs. Investigators compared the photos with incident logs from the car collision and were able to identify McNally's address, where the same van was still parked when officers later visited discreetly. McNally was arrested on May 13, 2025 by officers from the Organised Crime Partnership, OCP, supported by Merseyside Police's Matrix Disruption Team, which tackles high-risk organised crime. During a search of his home, police found a semi-automatic pistol, ammunition and £23,000. Faced with what prosecutors described as compelling evidence, McNally pleaded guilty on June 17 to offences relating to drugs, firearms and criminal property. EncroChat was an encrypted communications network used by criminals across Europe to coordinate large-scale drug supply and money laundering operations. McNally was one of countless criminals who used encrypted EncroChat phones to organize their offending. They believed the platform was impervious to law enforcement. But in 2020, international law enforcement agencies infiltrated the platform and could read criminals' messages. It was shut down in 2020 after being compromised by French and Hollish authorities, with millions of messages shared with UK law enforcement. John Hughes from Merseyside OCP said Michael McNally thought he could get away with supplying harmful drugs by hiding behind an encrypted phone and the name Lanky Panda. They also examined police incident logs to identify the car collision that had been photographed, allowing them to pinpoint McNally's garden, where his white Kangoo van was still parked when investigators later visited discreetly. OCP officers arrested McNally on 13th May 2025. The officers were assisted by Merseyside Police's Matrix Disruption Team, which tackles high-risk organised crime in the county. OCP officers skillfully and determinedly spent hours poring through messages to piece together Lanky Panda's identity and the extent of his criminality, and it's thanks to their hard work that McNally has been jailed. This operation has successfully taken a drug supplier out of the community, a dangerous weapon off the streets, and cash out of the hands of criminals. On 17th June, faced with the compelling evidence gathered by investigators, McNally pleaded guilty to drugs, firearms and criminal property offences at Liverpool Crown Court. The NCA's John Hughes from Merseyside OCP said Michael McNally thought he could get away with supplying harmful drugs by hiding behind an encrypted phone and the name Lanky Panda. McNally was arrested at the address and has today been charged with conspiracy to supply drugs, money laundering and possession of a firearm and ammunition. OCP officers skillfully and determinedly spent hours poring through messages to piece together Lanky Panda's identity and the extent of his criminality, and it's thanks to their hard work that McNally has been jailed. This operation has successfully taken a drug supplier out of the community, a dangerous weapon off the streets, and cash out of the hands of criminals. But McNally has got previous, dated back to the year 2016, a £10 million cigarette smuggling gang that brought in their illicit goods to Liverpool by pretending they were brake parts has been jailed. His gang held business meetings in a roadside cafe and operated on public Wi-Fi, in the false belief it would prevent their activities from being tracked. HMRC investigators found he had not declared any income for several years, despite a wealthy lifestyle and regular worldwide travel. Instead, he was actually importing the cigarettes, attempting to smuggle them through customs without paying tax. His network spread across the north, included Liverpool men, and were in charge of distributing the cigarettes once they had passed through customs and were overheard discussing deliveries while under surveillance. Tony Capon, Assistant Director of HMRC's Fraud Investigation Service, said he lived in an expensive house, drove a Porsche Cayenne and travelled the world, but he never declared any legitimate income or business trading to HMRC. He operated a criminal network to smuggle, transport, store and sell illegal cigarettes and tobacco purely to evade tax. This was a serious attempt on an industrial scale to steal millions of pounds from the public purse and undermine local businesses. In our work to create a level playing field for all businesses and taxpayers, we urge anyone with information about the trade in smuggled or counterfeit tobacco to contact our 24-hour hotline. If you're ever offered cheap or dodgy-looking cigarettes or tobacco, call us. Don't let the crooks get away with this type of fraud.